Hey Node.js developers, welcome back to a new tutorial. In this live stream, I'm going to show you how you can simply build a blog in React Native, a blog that will work both in your mobile application and that you can host on web for search engine optimization. So, who is this for and who would benefit from this tutorial? This tutorial is actually built and created specifically for Kay, a founder at Notjust Incubator that is from the current batch, and we started working with her previous week. And she's building a mobile startup, but also it's going to be very helpful to a lot of other people developing mobile applications with React Native. So that's why I decided to do it here on YouTube. So Kay is building a mobile startup and she's using React Native for that. That is going to be the main platform, the main application. Now, she also wants to have a web presence in terms of a blog. She wants that because she would like to appear in search engines like Google whenever people are searching for the terms that she's interested to rank for. So this would help her with getting in front of the users and bringing new people inside her application. But creating a web presence or a blog, she's thinking like, should she use Next.js or what are the solutions? Next.js is perfectly fine. I'm using it for our website, for notjust.dev. But my priority at the incubator is to find solutions that are the easiest and that will help founders get to the market as fast as possible. So I'm trying to find a solution where we can build everything with React Native to have both our mobile application and our web application with React Native in order to have only one source base, code base. The priorities of this project is, of course, simplicity, as simple as possible, to have like a core for our blogging system. Then we can improve it from there. Another priority is to have it cross-platform to work both on web and mobile. And for the web, it's very important for us for the website to be optimized for search engines. So SEO is also our priority. For this, we're gonna use the following stack. We're gonna use Expo and Expo Router. We're gonna use Markdown for the content because it will allow us to write content without having to develop any code, like simply in any Markdown editor. And we are going to statically generate our website using Expo Router version 3. And the output, or like the result of the statically generation, which was going to be simply HTML files, we're going to host them on Vercel. So by the end of the tutorial, we're going to have our website hosted and accessible through a URL. All right, so if you're ready, I think we can get started. Again, this is specifically for Kay, and if you're interested in the Notjust Incubator, we're gonna run more batches this year. So make sure to go to notjust.dev/incubator. If you have mobile app ideas, then we will be able to help you build and launch them in just 3 months. So notjust.dev/incubator, you can apply now, and we're gonna reach out to you later when we are preparing the next batch, somewhere in the second half of the year. Anyway, that's the introduction, and we can get started. All right, so the first step I'm gonna do, hello everyone who is joining this live. Hello there, how are you doing? I'm very good, thank you. Let's go ahead and start by initializing an empty project. I'm gonna do that using npx expo or create expo up at latest to take the latest version, and let's do React Native blog. This will initialize a blank Expo project, and we are going to install and set up Expo Router manually. If you already have Expo Router, if I'm not mistaken, we will depend on Expo Router version 3, but maybe it's going to work also with the version 2 and Expo SDK 49. Because For the web, where is it? Let me bring in some pages. Expo Router. For the web, we will depend on referencing on static rendering, and the static rendering is available starting from Expo SDK 49 and Expo Router v2. So that would be the minimum that you would need. Is this recorded? No, it's live. I wanted to do it in the morning, like really fast without a lot of preparation. And yeah, I've been spending like the last 5 or 6 hours preparing. But anyway. Hello, Chanda. How are you doing? So here we have our application initialized. Let's go ahead and open it in Visual Studio Code by doing code rn blog. And we don't need the terminal any longer. We're gonna use Visual Studio Code. From here, let's zoom in a bit. I'm not even gonna start and set it up. I expect people watching this tutorial to have a little bit of experience with React Native because it's going to be a little bit faster paced. I just want to show you this system that will allow you to create blogs. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go to Expo Router introduction, or rather installation, and I'm gonna start installing Expo Router in this project. Here is the quick start, but we want the manual installation. So let's go ahead and take the first command. No, this is what we already have done. Let's go ahead and install the dependencies by copying this npx expo install with all the dependencies that it needs. That's going to be the dependencies that it needs. The next step is going to change the entry point inside package.json to expo router/entry. So let's copy it from here, go to app.json, and where you see, is it app.json? I think so, it should be. Or no, it's package.json. And in the main, instead of app entry, we're going to use the expo router/entry. Let's see the next steps. We need to add the schema of our application, and that is going to help us with deep linking, and that is happening in app.json. So in app.json, somewhere at the top after the slug, we can add the property scheme, and here we can say, I don't know, let's call it not just blog. Not sure if it's very important for us in this tutorial, but maybe we will use it. Then, if we're developing your application for web, we need to also install React Native Web and React DOM. Let's go ahead and do that because we are going to develop a cross-platform application for both mobile and web, so we need that. And we need in app.json to set the bundler to Metro. If I'm not mistaken, this is already the default. If you don't have but we can go in app.json for web. Let's set the bundler to Metro. Okay. I think this is automatically done. So if we check babel.config, we're gonna see the Babel presets expo, Babel config, Babel preset expo. So we don't have to do anything here. And then we can start our application. Let's go ahead and do that. I'm gonna start it by running in the terminal npm start. And then pressing I to open it on iOS simulator. If you don't have a simulator, you can use Expo Go and scan this QR code. Or you can also press W, but we're gonna do that in a moment, to use the web version. That's also going to be possible. Okay, this is the welcome screen of Expo. If we press this button, it's going to automatically create the app directory. And the app directory is where all our screens will be created. This is a very important folder for Expo Router, so make sure you have it created. And the index.js is going to be the home screen, or in other words, the slash, when we navigate to the slash. What I'm gonna do, yeah, we already should see the hello world that is coming from this index.json. Hello there. If you change something, it will update automatically, right? Yes, perfect. And the same should work on web as well. So if I press W here, we should see our React Native blog being open on the web, and shortly we see the title and the subtitle on the web. Perfect. Let's stop the server for a bit because I want to do a bit of changes. I usually like to keep the app directory inside the source directory because we are going to add other source files like components, data, and so on. So let's go ahead and create a folder called src. Let's move our app there. I'm gonna move it. And then what else I'm gonna need here? Maybe I'm gonna need, yeah. I will also switch to TypeScript in order for us to easier type all the data that we're gonna have about the posts. Don't worry, it's not gonna be too complicated with the TypeScript. If you don't have experience, I'm gonna try to explain everything. But the only thing that we have to do is rename from JS to .ts, and then we can also create a new folder in the source, for example, types. In the types, we can create a one for post.ts. And here is where we will define the type of our post. But for now, I don't want to do anything here. Actually, what I will do is the index file from our application, I will rename the extension to tsx because it also has JSX here. So this is going to help it. That should be it, but my editor is complaining about this JSX, and what I will do is I will press on this brackets at the bottom of the screen in VS Code and press configure TS file. This will create for us a file called gsconfig. I'm not sure why it's gsconfig, it should be tsconfig, but by changing here this property from React to React-gsx, the problem here with my editor is solved. So that's the only thing why I needed this gsconfig. Anyway, guys, what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna go ahead and run npm start, but I'm gonna add also the -- clear to make sure that we clear the cache. And when running this, Expo will tell us, hey, we see that you are using TS files. Do you want to install TypeScript and configure it? And let's press yes. And Expo is going to do all the heavy lifting for us. It's also going to create the TS config. I think now I don't need the JS config. Let me just check. Move. Yeah, I think with the TS config I don't even. Anyway, I'm gonna leave it there. So now if I close the application and now run it again, here we have it. The same application, but now everything is in the source, and as we will develop, you're gonna see that we're gonna need different files here. Bas is saying, yeah, another live stream. Hi from the Netherlands. Hello, Bas. What application are you building? Let me know. So let me think. Content repository. All right, so the next step is for us to define the data source. Where are we going to get the data? In a lot of situations, you already might think, okay, we need a database, we need something complicated, we need to host it somewhere. But when advising startups, I always say, like, let's start with the easiest way possible and then move to a more complicated solution whenever it's necessary, whenever it's mandatory. And in my opinion, the easiest way to store this data is going to be to simply create files in our source code. And for every blog, we're going to create a new file, a JSON file, or maybe a TypeScript file with data about that blog post. And the content that is going to be rendered in the blog post is going to be Markdown. So this is going to be a good starting point. And later we can extract this data to a database if needed. You might think like, okay, but whenever you write a blog post, you'll have to rebuild your application so that the users will also see it. That problem can be easily solved with EAS updates by sending over-the-air updates. So that's not a problem for us at this moment. So what I'm going to do, let's go ahead and probably first of all, let's define the type. I don't really want to write a lot of types. So let me open the project that I was new window. Let me do it here. This is going to be the example. I will go ahead and copy paste the type of a post that I have here. So let's take it from here. And what the post will have, it will have a following data. It will have a slug, or let's call it like an ID. But usually when you're working with content, that would be a slug because you can use it also for the URL, like to have some meaning behind it. It will have a title, it will have a description, a very short description, it will have a date when it was published, it will have a content that we want to render in the page, and it will have a URL to a thumbnail. And this thumbnail is going to help us for to display it in the UI and also when sharing this URL to other platforms as well. So now that we have this type of this post, what I'm gonna do is I'm going to create a new folder in our source directory called content. In this content, we are going to store different posts as separate files. So whenever we want to create a new one, we're gonna simply create a new file. I'm gonna bring a template that I prepared for you. This is going to be the template. So we are going to have this template here. And whenever we need to create a new file, we're gonna simply duplicate this template. Let's see what we have here. Template, const post is missing, thumbnail is missing. Okay, so this template should also have a thumbnail like this. And file name types, post with lowercase. Okay. So this would be a default template for our posts. Let's go ahead and duplicate these templates to create our post 1. And in post 1, we can give it a slug post 1, a title post, my first post. Here is, I'm gonna add some, this is my first post. And for the thumbnail, I'm not gonna give anything for now. And let's go ahead and duplicate the template once again for post 2.tsx. And let's give it a slug post 2 title. This is my second post. And for the description as well. Description, so on. Okay, so now we have data or information At the moment, it doesn't have content, but it has metadata, information about our posts. What I'm going to do is I'm going to create an index file here in the content, index.ts, and I'm going to define an array of these posts, not an array, but a key value object, because later on it's going to be easier for us to access one post by its slug. So the value here is going to be its slug. So post one, and the key is going to be the slug. The value is going to be the actual file. So using require, I can import post one, and I can access the default export from that file. The same for post 2, require post2.default. You can also, let's see if it understands. No, it thinks that post 1 is of type any. We can probably type it with a record of type string and here of type post. Let's see. Import. Now post is of type. It knows that it's a type. It returns posts. And we can simply export default posts from this file. Okay, so now our index will contain basically a mapping with all our posts for us to easier read and write them. Now that we have this content structure, I'm also going to define another folder for our repositories. And this repository or service is going to help us fetch the posts. And it's going to, the benefit of having it like this is going to be whenever we are moving away from content as files and maybe we need a database, we're only going to have to update our post repository.ts. And this post repository will have some functions that will help us get information. For example, it will have get all posts, export const get all posts. And what this is going to do is it should return all the posts from that we want to render. It will also have a function get post. And here, knowing the slug or the ID of that post, slug of type string, we want to find that post in this index file by the slug and return it. So in the post repository now we need to import posts from content, and knowing a slug and having this object of post where the key is the slug of a post is going to be very easy to find that post by the slug, because we can simply take the posts and access the field with the slug like this. This looks like accessing an array, but you can access object values, because this is not an array, this is an object. We can use this structure to access the field with a dynamic key. And this dynamic key is slug that is going to be received through properties. So this function will simply give us the post knowing the slug. The first function should give us all the posts. So what I'm interested in is from this object, I'm interested in only the values and I want them as an array. There is a function called object.values that receives an object and will return an array of values. We'll ignore the keys, we'll put the values in an array. So if we check the return type of getAllPost, we see that it's an array of post, and this one, it's a post. Okay, so now that we have this very simple repository, now it's simple because it uses files like TypeScript files, but later, getting all posts, maybe you're gonna have to fetch database or connect to some content management system. But anyway, we have it here. That means that we are ready to go ahead and use this repository to render something in our application. I'm going to start with the index because here is where we will render a list of posts. This would be like our blog homepage. What I'm going to do is I want to call the get all posts, get all posts. Oh, come on, get all posts. But if I do it like this get all post is going to be called every re-render. I'm not sure how often it will re-render, but that's not what I need. So an easier way is to simply put it into a state variable and default it to get all posts. To do that, I'm going to do posts, set posts equal use state. And the default value of the state is going to be the result of a get all posts. So this way, the get all post will be called only once when we initialize the state. And then we can use these posts in our UI. Instead of these two tags, I'm going to delete them. And I'm going to rather render a flat list from React Native to render a list of posts. The data is going to be our posts. And the render item, the item is going to be one of those posts. So let's start by rendering simply a text with item dot, and you see TypeScript is recommending us fields from our post. So item.title should be good to go. If I do that and rerun our project, in Vadim we trust. Hello, Vitor. Hello, Jackie Shan. How are you doing, guys? Like this. So what we see here is already the titles of two posts. So if I'm going to go ahead and give it a bit of style, for example, font size 16 and font weight 500, you should already see it better there. I'm gonna adjust a little bit the styles of this main because I don't think I want it justify content center. So if I comment this out, it's still like this. For the container line item center comment out, yes, now it starts from the left side. Perfect. In terms of styling, we're gonna come back, but now we see the titles of two posts. Maybe you can add here, or what I can do is on the flat list, I can add content container style, and by simply adding a gap here, it's going to add the gap between the posts. Maybe I can add 20. So my first post, this is my second post. That's perfect. That's our title. Now, to continue setting up our structure, and then we're going to come back and improve everything, I just want to have a structure, a core for our blog. To continue doing that, what I want is whenever I press on one of these items, I want to be redirected to a separate page that will render the details of that page, like basically we're under the content. I can also double check like what do we have here on the web. So on the web, is it still working? I can zoom in a bit. Yes, it's still working. My first post, this is my second post. Perfect. So what's going to be the next step? We need to create a separate page for the details of a post. To do that, we need a new file inside our app directory, because that's how we create new screens inside the Expo Router. But because our screen will have a dynamic path parameter, we're going to call the file with these square brackets, and the variable is going to be our slug. So let's call it slug inside square brackets, then .tsx. Here, I want to simply render a component post details page. Let's export this one here, and let's render a simple text for now. Now, if I'm gonna go ahead and navigate on the web to a page like 1, 2, 3, we're gonna see post detail page. Perfect. But how do we take the dynamic path parameter, this 1, 2, 3 that I wrote in the URL? We can do that using the use local search parameters hook imported from Expo Router. And we can get access to the variable with a name that we provided here in the file, for example, slug. So what I can do here now is I will render the text, and after that I will render the slug. So if now I navigate to the /123, I see 1, 2, 3 here. If I navigate here to post 1, I'll see post 1 here. That's exactly what we need in order to get access to the details of a post, knowing its ID or its slug. So let's do the same. Let's get access to the post, set it into a state variable, use state, and we're going to initialize it, this state variable by default, with the post repository get post, and providing there the slug that we receive from use local search parameters. So let's import it from our repository. And now, besides the slug, we can also probably render the title like this. Post.title. But there is a chance that this post with that tag is not going to be found. So if post is undefined, then we can return a text saying post not found. Otherwise, we're going to see the title. So now it's going to be very easy on the web to test it. So if I do ABC here, we're going to see post not found. But if I'm going to do post 1, I see my first post. If I do post 2, I see the title. This is my second post, because this is the data coming from our content. Post 1, post 2. So now that we have this dynamic page, what I want to do is I want to navigate whenever I press on these links or items on the home screen. I want to navigate to the detailed page of that, content. What I'm gonna do is I can start by simply replacing the text with a link, and the link should be imported from Expo Router. Is it imported? Yes. The link imported from Expo Router needs an href, the URL to which we want to redirect. The URL in our case is dynamic, so I'm gonna provide here a template string. I'm gonna start with / and then I'm gonna provide here the slug, the dynamic parameter from item.slug. So my first post will redirect to /post1, and if I press this, I see my first post. I'm gonna reload to go back to the first one, and if I press on the second one, this is going to redirect to the /post2, because that is the slug of that item, and I see this is my second post. So now that the navigation is working from home screen to the detail screen, how do we go back? At this moment, we cannot, but it's very easy to add a stack navigator that will allow us to navigate back and forward between screens. And to do that, we simply have to create a root layout inside our app directory. At the moment, there is no root layout, so Expo Router is not using a proper navigator. I'm not even sure what kind of navigator is being used, but probably a very, very basic one. If we want to use a stack navigator, let's go ahead and simply create the _layout. The name is very important, _layout. And from here, let's export default, a function called root layout. And if we simply return a, if we simply render or return a stack component imported also from Expo Router, we're gonna see that we already have a header from the stack here on the index. If I go to that screen, I have a header and I can go back with animations and so on. And this stack is working on the web as well. So here from my first post, I can go to the details, I can go back, I can go here, and so on. With the stack, you can also adjust the properties of the header, like titles and so on. For example, you can, in order to adjust it, we're gonna need to, in a way, in this root layout, in this stack, we need to specify some options for the stack screen that we need to adjust. For example, to do that, we're gonna render inside the stack, we're gonna render stack.screen. And we need two things, the name, and the name should be the name of a file that we want to configure, for example, index. And in the options, we can send the configurations. For example, title should be posts. Now the title of the home screen is posts, no longer index. And the same thing for the second one. You can do slug because that's the name of a file. The title can be post details. So if I go there, I see post details. But you can also do that dynamically. You can adjust the titles dynamically. So from the slug, probably you'd want to set the title dynamically based on the post title. To do that, you simply render this stack.screen and you import the stack from Expo Router. Because you're rendering it inside the screen, you no longer need to specify the name because it knows that you want to adjust it for this screen that you render it for. And in the title, I can do here post dot title. I don't think that I actually need that because it might be very long. But anyway, it's possible. You can see it here. But I'm not gonna do it actually. I'm gonna leave it just simply post details. Okay, so this is the basic layout, basic structure. Let me go ahead and do git status, git add, git commit. Basic screens structure. My first post, we go there. My second post, we go here. Perfect. The Flappy Bird tutorial was awesome. Thank you. Appreciate it. Okay. What I want to do next, list details. With styles, again, I'm gonna maybe come back later to do some styles, but for now, that's good. Maybe the same way as I do on the index, if I check the main container, it has this maximum width and margin horizontal, and that's in order for the page on the web not to expand to the whole screen, because if I go to the details page, it's already on the whole screen. So let's go here to the slug and add here some style with flex 1, max width 960, margin horizontal auto, maybe a background color white, just for us to see the container. Okay, but besides the maximum width, I will also say that the width should be 100%. Basically, take as much space as possible, but not more than 960. And if I go here to my second post and zoom out, we're gonna see that this page is only 960 pixels and it's aligned in the middle. Perfect. We can also add here maybe some padding 20. Okay. And on the mobile is also going to look okay. Okay. The next step is about the content itself, right? About the content itself. The easiest way to write the content is going to be Markdown. Markdown is a the simple and easy to use markup language to format text, to format documents. You might be familiar with it if you wrote, like, let's say, GitHub README files and other documents. But basically, we can define like simple headings by simply formatting it like this way, like bold text, italic, block quotes, and so on. So there is a lot of benefits of using Markdowns because it's simple. And in fact, the blog that I have on the website, it's actually also Markdown. So all of this that you see, this is all Markdown with code and so on. So let's go ahead and generate some Markdown lorem ipsum to generate some Markdown files. And on this web page, we're gonna copy paste some of these, like these examples of Markdown, for us to have what to work with. In the content, I'm gonna go to post one and I'm gonna paste it in the content string. So let's simply paste it here. Everything seems to be okay. I'm gonna save, and in post two, let's go ahead and generate some Markdown again. And let's copy it from here. Okay, so we have a content. Now, probably we can go on the Slack page, and for the title, I'm gonna give here styles font size 30, just to see it big there on the top. Maybe margin bottom 20. And right after the title, I want to render the content. Well, we could try to render it like this, but it's not gonna work because we need to parse that Markdown. But let's start from somewhere. So if we simply render the content, we're gonna see it as non-parsed, like the raw Markdown content. To parse it and render it properly on the screen, we're gonna use an open source library called React Native Markdown Display. Markdown display. This library is going to parse and render. Why it doesn't have? Let's go to the GitHub repository, because here it has a README with some information. So it will parse the Markdown and render it properly on the screen. Let's copy the name of this file, of this library, and let's install it with npx expo install and the name React Native Markdown Display. Super, thank you very much. We are just getting started. This is also going to work both for mobile and web, and for the web, we are going to statically generate it. We're going to host it so that you can also benefit from search engine optimization. Okay, we have it here. Let's go ahead and see the example. We have to import Markdown from React Native Markdown. Let's do that. I'm gonna do it here, Markdown. I'm going to also start simply by following their example, just for us to make sure that everything is okay. So I'm gonna take the copy that they provide as an example, and the last step is to simply render it as Markdown copy here. So before the content, after the title, let's render the copy. Just like that, we see the H1 with proper heading style. This is bold text and this is normal text. So if I will, instead of a copy, provide there the post content, which is our Markdown content, right here, I don't need the copy anymore. Just like that, we have a proper Markdown post with basic style, with basic formatting, but it's something. It helps you move fast. We cannot scroll, so most probably I'm going to have to switch from a view to a scroll view imported from React Native scroll view. Make sure the closing is also a scroll view here. And if I'm not mistaken, the scroll view has also content container style. And some of these styles should go to the content container. But everything works here as well. So maybe it's going to work. Let's leave it like this. Let's check if on the web it's working as well. I'm gonna go on our web page. I'm gonna refresh. Let's go to my first blog. Here is my first blog. It works. But the scroll bar is here. Not sure if that's a problem, but you can of course adjust it. So if I will zoom in, at least you can scroll and see everything. With headers, which are semantically correct, like if I'm gonna go ahead and inspect, will this be a H1 or not? Oh boy, it's not. Why not? I was really expecting this to be H1 but probably we can adjust it. We're gonna see later. Look, I think if we want to move this bar to the other side, we need to add the max width and width to the content container style, and also the margin horizontal and background wide, and also the padding. So basically everything except flex 1 to move it here. And now, yes, the scroll bar is all the way to the right, but the content that we are rendering is in the middle. And here it works as well. Yep. Maybe the background color white. As you can see, if we scroll all the way to the top, we see the gray background. So maybe the background color white can go on the scroll view itself. So when we scroll up, it's still white, and here the whole page is going to become white. Perfect. Now it looks better. Markdown text. All right, so again, we have a structure. We can improve it later, but as for the structure, that's perfect. And this Markdown, you can adjust the styles of everything, like the styles of headers, the styles of text, block codes, and so on. So you can really have very customized experience with this. The next step that we're gonna do, but maybe I will do a git add, git commit. Markdown. Perfect. I think that the next step is to already go ahead and statically generate our website, because at the moment the website is working and the data is being loaded from the Metro server that is running here in our terminal. This Metro server is serving the files both to our mobile application and to the web. If, for example, I'm gonna stop it, we're gonna see that on the web it's gonna stop as well. In order to deploy this, we have an option to statically generate this website. What does statically generate mean? It means that at build time, when we are building this, We're taking all the source code and we are rendering it as an output in a format of a simple HTML file. So this HTML file, it doesn't need a server to run. It can run from any kind of places where you can deploy static websites, even from GitHub pages. So this is very powerful because it allows your website to be very, very fast, because whenever the user will access it, there is no server to render the request to create this. There is already the file pre-built ahead of time that simply has to be sent to the user and rendered in the browser. This goes all the way back to how the websites were in the past, and that's that's a perfect solution, especially for content that you can generate ahead of time. For example, if your application is dynamic, it needs data and so on, it would be harder to do that. But for content that you can pre-generate ahead of time, this is a perfect solution because it will help you with SEO. With Expo Router from Expo SDK 49 and Expo Router version 2, if we go to the documentation of Expo Router in the references, we're gonna see static rendering. We can render our application as a static website. Let's go ahead and see what do we need to do. First of all, we need the bundler to be Metro and the output static. Okay, let's go ahead and do that. And we're gonna do that inside app.json. And by the way, this app.js, we no longer need it because this is from the template project, but we moved to Expo Router, so you can safely delete it. But in app.json, under the web, we have a bundler Metro. We just need to specify the output as static. We don't need to do anything there. And for the production, all we have to do is run this command, npx expo export platform web. If we do that in our terminal, Expo will go ahead and will pre-generate, will export our project as simple HTML files. After a couple of seconds, we're gonna see the dist folder. If we open it up, we see as a normal website like the index HTML, the sitemap HTML, the slug, the assets, and so on. So if I'm gonna go ahead and open this in Finder, this dist directory, and I'm gonna go with icons, what I can do now is I can simply open up index.html in browser, and that's what I see. A statically generated website that is simply loaded from my file system. If I take this file, put it on a server that is accessible over the web, that's everything it needs to serve traffic. If I try to navigate, it's going to try to navigate to /post. So it's not working here locally because, as you can see, it should actually go to the full path, and then at the end, if you change from index.html to what? Slug.html, we're gonna see post not found. So again, when we ran the export, Expo went through all of the pages and statically generated them. That's perfectly fine with static pages like our home screen, the index, and we see that it generated that index HTML. But for dynamic paths, like our post details, what we actually want to do is we want to generate one HTML file for every post in our system. So if we have 10 posts, we want 10 HTML files to be generated in HTML. Because we are not going to have a server, we want to pre-generate all the pages ahead of time. With Expo, we can do that with Expo Router. If in this documentation, we're going to scroll a bit and read about dynamic routes. This is exactly what dynamics, what we need. And if you have experience with Next.js, this is kind of the same as it was in Next.js with a pages version. So all we have to do is from the page that has a dynamic path parameter, we need to export a function, generate static parameters, and we need from that function to return all the slugs, basically, or all the items that we need to generate a page for. Then Expo will take this function, we'll call it, and for every item in that array, we'll simply go ahead and render a separate page. Now, pay attention that in our dist, we have this slug HTML. After our change, we are not going to have a slug HTML. We're going to actually have a post1.html and post2.html. So to do that, let's go to our dynamic page, up slug.tsx, and at the top, let's export here an async function called generate static parameters. And here it actually shows us that we need to get the posts. In our case, this is not asynchronous, so we can simply call get all, or how did we call it? Get all posts. So let's get all the posts, and this is going to be an array of posts. Then we're going to map through each post in that array, and we will only return the slug post.slug, because this is the dynamic parameter that we later need in the component. So if our post array has 10 items, then Expo Router will get these 10 items and will render 10 of these pages by sending this object to our search parameters. So if I go ahead and run again npx expo export platform web, this is going to take a little bit more time because it has to generate more files, but yeah, it allows us to have these static files. Now if I look in the dist folder, I no longer have a slug. Actually, I do have a slug, but I also have post1 HTML and post2 HTML. So if I go ahead in my directory here, let's try to reveal and find, come on, what's happening? So if I'm gonna go here and then icons, if I'll open post1 HTML in the browser, here I have it. Look, I have an HTML file with the page of our post. Perfect. And I can do the same for post2.html and index.html. So all our pages are simple HTML files. Now what we can do here is we can take this, the dist folder, and we can host it on any kind of hosting providers that support like static sites. But the static site is the most basic one, so most probably any kind of hosting providers will be able to host a static website. Here at the end of the guide for static rendering, we're going to see that some options, like you can use Netlify, you can use Cloudflare, AWS Amplify, Vercel. You can even use GitHub Pages, because GitHub Pages can serve static websites. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna actually use Vercel, because I have some experience with Vercel. We host our website there, and it's quite simple to host a static site there. All we have to do is we have to create a GitHub repository for our blog. So let's go ahead on our GitHub, let's press new, and under our owner, let's create React Native simple blog. React Native or React Native blog. Cross-platform blog with Expo Router. I'm gonna do it as a public repository, and let's go ahead and create it. And from here, I'm only going to copy this git remote add line. I'm gonna go back to my to VS Code. I'm gonna open the terminal, and let's go ahead and commit everything that we have so far by doing git add dot git commit, and here's static site generation SSG. Then I'm gonna paste the command that I copied from there to connect my local GitHub repository to my local Git repository to GitHub, and then I can do git push origin main. If I go back to GitHub and refresh this page, I have the project hosted on GitHub. See, we do not have a dist directory because the dist directory is git ignored, but that's perfectly fine because we can generate it at any point in time using Next.js. So with this system that we are gonna have, we will only have to create the content and push our changes to GitHub, and Vercel will rebuild and redeploy our website. We're gonna see that in a second. Now let's go to vercel.com. Should be vercel.com. And let's go ahead and press add new project. Vercel has a free tier, so you'd be able to use it for free. Now in this, we can import a Git repository, and I'm gonna go ahead and adjust a bit the permissions because I need to give permission to the newly created repository. Here I'm gonna select the React Native blog. Is that how I called it? But it's not under, yeah, 1 second. It's not under here, it's under notjust.dev. React Native blog. So give Vercel access to your repository, save. And after that, we're gonna see it here in this git import somewhere. Yeah, React Native blog. Let's press import. Here, go ahead and give it a name. For the frameworks, we're gonna leave as other. The root directory, I'm gonna leave as the root of a project because that's where our source code or the root of our project is. But under build and output settings, I'm gonna change a little bit. For example, for the build command, let's override it to the build command that we used locally to generate our website. If I scroll up a bit, we generated it using npx expo export -- platform web. Let's copy this command and tell Vercel whenever you want to build, use this command. The output directory is also should be overridden because it's not public, it's in our case the dist directory. So we want to say that the public directory or the output of our website is going to be this dist. Now I will leave everything as like this and press deploy. And in a couple of minutes, we're gonna have our blog deployed on the internet as a static website. So while we're waiting, is Markdown different from rich text? I don't exactly know what's behind rich text. So rich text, but I think it's different. It's a file format that enables exchange between different word processing programs. Yes, it's different. The cool thing about Markdown is, for example, on my blog, I use Notion. And oh, look, you need to see this. Congratulations. I'm going to explain more about Markdown in a second. But congratulations, our application has been deployed. Let's press continue to dashboard. And if we press here visit, we're going to go ahead and see our website, the homepage of our website basically. And it's publicly available. I can even give it to you so you can open it up in your browser and check it out. If I press my first post, I'm going to be redirected to the post details. And because now this is hosted, the navigation between pages work perfectly fine. And I can even go back to the second post and so on. So far, so good. Congratulations. This is kind of the basic of the whole project. But going from here, we're going to fix small issues. We're going to add features. And one of the first issues that I'm going to fix is the navigation works. But if I'm going to go to a page and then refresh the page, we're going to have a not found error. Why? Because the URL is /post2. Because our file is an HTML file, it's a static website, it expects to be .html. If I go to HTML, it finds the project, but it kind of parses the whole post2.html as the slug, and because there is no slug like that, it has post not found. So the problem here is if we're gonna check Vercel clean URLs, we're gonna understand managing Vercel. Let me check the docs. Vercel clean URLs here. If we're gonna look in the documentation of Vercel, Vercel has these clean URLs, and when set to true, all HTML files will have the extension removed. So so instead of going to about.html, we can go to /about, and then Vercel will know that it needs to add the .html by itself. So this is going to help us have these URLs without having to provide the file extension like .html, and the default value is false. What we need is to enable it to true, and then everything is going to be solved. To do that, we need to create a vercel.json file with this content in our project. So let's go in our project, in the root directory. I think my mouse is... or VS Code. Something is happening that either my mouse or my computer is getting slow. So let's go ahead and create vercel.json and paste here an object with clean URLs true. Let me double check if it's vercel.json. Yes, it's vercel.json. Now all we have to do is git add, git commit vercel clean URLs, and then you're gonna do git push. Git push origin main. So pushing your code changes to the main repository. I'm gonna show you here. So what we did is we created a new commit and pushed it to our GitHub. And what's happening is that Vercel will automatically trigger a new build for us and will redeploy our website. So this is automatically updating our website in production whenever we send changes there. So we don't have to think about Vercel anymore. We set it up once, and then we only submit code to GitHub. And actually, you're also going to see here pending, because GitHub is also showing that Vercel is building. So really, really cool. And in probably 1 minute, we're gonna have the website, the new version published. And in that situation, the URLs will be fixed. Let's have a look. Come on. 1 minute, it was ready. If I go back to my project to /post2 and refresh, we see that now it's working. So if I go to index, it's working. If I go here, it's working. If I refresh, it's working. If I hard refresh, everything is working. So perfect. Now the URLs are fixed for us. Amazing. Everything is working. Everything is good. What next? What next? The next changes that I want to show you are a bit around the improving the SEO. To improve search engine optimization, we need to provide some information about the page that Google will take and display it in Google search results. For example, if you search notjust.dev, this at the top is going to be the title of the page, and this is going to be the description of the page. These are probably one of the most important parameters for the SEO, for search engine optimization. We need to set a proper title for the page and a proper description that users will see when navigating Google, for example. At the moment, if I go to my static website, where is it? The title that is being rendered actually also in the header here is the name of my website, reactnative.blog.vercel app. But if I look in the inspect, we can see this information. Let's go open inspect. I will zoom in a bit. So if we open head, we're going to see that there is no title provided. And there is also no description or anything else that would help our search engine. And if I go to the next page, it's the same, missing title. Let's have a look at how we can do that. Back in our static rendering, as the first step, I'm going to show you about the HTML file, root HTML. So by default, every page is wrapped with some small HTML boilerplate. So all our pages, they have this very basic and default HTML structure with a head, with some information, but nothing more. If, however, we need to adjust some of the boilerplate for the HTML, we can simply create this +HTML file in our app directory, and then inside here we can adjust anything about the root HTML file. So let's do that. Let's start by opening source application, and here let's create a file +html.tsx. Here I can copy this default HTML that we see here on the website, and what it does, it defines some head properties and then puts all the children or all the screens inside the body. This is a place where you can also add like some scripts for Google Analytics or some other pixels. You can add like meta information here and so on. I was trying to add here a default title, but it was not working, like default title. And if I'm gonna go ahead and do npm start and open on the web, localhost, come on, it's bundling. So if I open it here, and do inspect, in the head, I'm going to see an empty title, and then I'm gonna see the second, like my default title here. So I'm not sure why, in fact, it's actually taking the first one, which is empty, and why it's not taking the one that I provided. So this is not working, but the next step is going to learn about the head component. Maybe this is a bug actually, because I would expect it to take it from here. But anyway, by going ahead and looking at these meta tags, we see that Expo Router has this head component that allows us to override important head tags that should go in the head, in the header, such as the title, the meta description, and so on. So if I'm gonna take this head component and render it maybe even after the head, I'm not sure where it should be here in the default HTML. We need to make sure to import it from Expo Router. Come on, import head from Expo Router. So instead of providing the default title here, if I will provide it inside the head component, my blog website, this is my blog. Now, if I'm gonna go to localhost and refresh, at the top in the browser, I already see my blog website. If I open the head here, we see that the first title is my blog website, perfect. And it also has the description somewhere. It should have a meta description, right? Yeah, the second one. Description, this is my blog. So this is already good because by default, you can add some default titles and description for pages that do not have a custom one. If you want this default header, title, and description for SEO, do it in html.tsx. But the thing with a blog is that this title and description should be individual for every single page in our blog. Because when people are searching for something and you have content about it, you want to appear on Google and have this information displayed there. The good thing is that this is exactly why we have this head component, to be able from inside the screen, for example, from this slug screen that is the post details page, to be able to render the head, the metadata. To do that, I'm going to wrap our scroll view in a template string like this. And at the end of the after scroll view, I'm gonna close this template, not template string, but this empty component. And I will add this head here above a scroll view. The head should be imported from Expo Router /head here. And now for the title, I can provide a dynamic title. That is our post.title. For description as well, in the content, I'm gonna provide here a dynamic post.description. Now, if I'm going to, as you can see, our slug, it has overridden head component, head properties like title and description, but the index doesn't need to specify it, and it will take it, the default one that we specified in the HTML. And every other page that don't override it will have this my blog website. You can adjust it like to for specifically your blog. So now the home screen has my blog website and the description. This is my blog, but if I navigate to my first blog, we see that the title becomes my first post because this is the title, and the description becomes, where is the description? This is my first post. Here it is. And if I go back, it remains my first post for some reason. I'd expect it to change. But if I go to the other page, we see this is my second post. So yeah, if we go back to a page that doesn't override it, it's going to keep the previous one. Unless you refresh, and in that case, it's going to take my blog website. Okay. But anyway, that's perfect. That's perfect for SEO because we can adjust all the tags that we need for SEO, like title, description, tags. The same way you can do tags. What else? I don't know all the specifics, but all of them can be done using this simple head component by adding meta and so on. The offer, tags, and others. So let me go ahead and do git add, git commit -m. Page meta details, title, description. And on the mobile, it should still work, but let's double check that because we are testing on the web, but we forgot to test here. Yeah, it has an error saying that Expo head, it needs to know the origin, like where is our website hosted. And we need to do that by specifying the config plugin inside the app.json. Here we have the plugin for Expo Router. Let's add it inside another pair of parentheses in order to specify some options to this plugin as the second argument in this array. And the argument is origin, and we need to say where is our website hosted. Go ahead and simply copy not localhost, but our website, the URL of our Vercel application. So in my case, that's going to be https React Native -blog /Vercel/app. If I'm gonna refresh, go here, now it works. Perfect. Git add, git commit, set origin. And this is also going to help, I think, with the handoff features. When a user is reading on the web, but he has an application, he can easily switch to the application, and vice versa. Like if he receives a URL for the web, like he can easily switch to the mobile. Okay, so let me double check. We have Markdown, we have blog, okay, pages, list details, static generation. We have SEO parameters, root HTML, dynamic pages, head. Now, I think that the next step is to show you how you can work a bit with images, because I imagine a lot of blog posts, they have an image, and why a blog post, why it's important for, let's say, a blog post to have an image is specifically when you, for example, share that blog post on social media. So if I'm gonna take this blog post and go ahead on Twitter and paste the URL here, come on, URL. It's going to display the title, and I'm not sure why it doesn't display the, maybe on LinkedIn it will display. Let's see, loading preview. And yeah, it takes actually the first image from that page, which I was doing some changes here, so I messed it up a bit. It should be a different one. But anyway, the image that we are using in the blog post is helpful whenever we share a URL on social media, because with our current website, if I take this post one and share on social media, let's see what is going to be the preview. It's only going to have a title, my first post, which is coming from the title. That's already good. It's going to have a description, which is coming from the description. That's good. But we would also like to have an image here. So let's go ahead and see how we can add images to our to this current stack that we have. The way we're gonna do it is the following. First of all, let me show you one thing. So static files. Expo CLI supports a root public directory that will be copied to the distribution, to the dist folder during static rendering. So this is useful for adding static files like images, fonts, and other assets. So what does that mean? That means that we can create a folder here called public. Inside this folder, we can create another folder called thumbnails, and we can add thumbnails there. Let me check if I have some thumbnails somewhere. I'll add some images, some screenshots that I have on the screen. So this is or let's say post 1, thumbnail for post 1, and I'm gonna find another one, maybe, yeah, this one, post 2. So I'll add 2 images here. Whenever we are going to do npx expo export platform web, now in the dist directory, we are going to see that this is actually the first thing that's being copied. But yeah, besides all the index.html, post1 HTML, we also have thumbnails with post1 PNG and post2 PNG. Whenever we are serving this as a static website, to access these files is going to be as simple as accessing like our website slash thumbnails slash post1.png. So as simple as that. Whenever we will deploy it a bit later, it's going to be accessible. And in the documentation, we also see that we can access these images by simply starting the URL with / at the beginning. Let's go ahead and do that in our application. And I'm going to start by simply rendering the image on this page. For example, in app slug, inside the scroll view, I'll have probably the title at the top, then I want to have an image and then the content. So let's go ahead and render image. For the source of the image, we're gonna do URI, and we need to start the URI with /. Then we're gonna need to check the location in the dist directory. So it should be /thumbnails / let's say post1 PNG, post1.png. And of course it will need some style, so let's go ahead and give it some style, like I want it to be full width, so let's do width 100%, and instead of specifying the height, I will do aspect ratio 16/9, and I need to import this image from React Native. Image aspect ratio, not ratio, aspect ratio. So just like that, I expect the image to be there. On the inside the, let's say inside our React Native file, it's not going to work, but if I deploy this, it should work. So let's just assume that it's going to work on the web, and I will replace, I don't want to access it statically like this, like post1.png. I want the thumbnail of a post that we're currently rendering. If you saw in our data, in our source content, post 1, we have here a field called thumbnail. So let's specify the name of a file, and this is going to be post1.png. And for the post 2, that's going to be post2.png. Post2.png. Okay, and let's see. Now if I go to the slug, instead of accessing it like this, I'll transform it to a template string to be able to insert, instead of hard-coding the name of a PNG, to insert it from post.thumbnail, just like that. Now again, it's not gonna work here, but if I do git add, git commit thumbnails, you should probably do an alt as well, and the alt is going to be also improve your SEO by providing information about that image. So because this is the thumbnail of a post, you can use the post.title as the alt attribute here, because the title of a post probably will have something related to the thumbnail. So let's do git add, git commit thumbnails, and git push origin main. Now we simply push these changes to our repository, and we wait for a bit for Vercel to automatically rebuild and republish our website. Hey Madhava, thank you very much. Madhava is saying, big fan of your teaching style, hats off. Thank you, I appreciate it. So in about 10 seconds, it should be ready. It's ready. So I can go to my React Native blog post. I can go my home screen. Let's refresh. If I go to my first post, here is our thumbnail. It's working because if I copy image address, you're gonna see that it's simply our website /thumbnail/post.1png. And because again, this is a static website, it's very easy to serve this kind of static images. Now, if I'm gonna take this URL and try to share it on LinkedIn, I think it's going to pick up that image. So no, it's not. Let's see what it needs. I think, yeah, it needs extra head properties. So yes, we displayed it there, but I think for social media, you also need OG metadata docs. The Open Graph protocol is specifically for social media, like how to get this data. So you simply have to render some meta, OG title, OG type, OG URL, and OG image. So if I'm gonna do OG image, and in our slug in the head, because that's a meta property, for the OG image, if I'm going to do content and the /thumbnails URL, I'm wondering if it's going to work like this or if we need to provide the full URL. Let's search OG metadata relative URL. Relative URL will not work. Only full URL, including schema, will work. Okay, so that means that we need the full URL. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take again my origin, and let's add it here at the beginning. Maybe I'm gonna do in the source a config file, config.ts, and I'm gonna export origin, because I might export const origin, and I'm gonna have my URL here. Then I'm gonna take the origin. Maybe should it be with a /advanced or not? It's just, we need to remember, like if we have a slash here, whenever we are gonna use it, we will have to remove the slash. So let's take origin from here. I will remove a slash because it will make more sense visually. So let's take the origin, go back to our slug here, and add the origin at the beginning. And we need to import it from our config. So this is going to be a full URL containing both our website URL /thumbnails, then the post thumbnail. The cool thing is that now I think, if I'm not mistaken, we can use the same origin for the image here, origin /thumbnails, and this will make the images work on the mobile as well, because now we are accessing a remote image, and the remote image is going to be there. The only thing is that when you create a new post, until you deploy on the web, the image is not going to be visible. So you first have to deploy on the web so that the image is on our website, and then we're going to be able to access it from mobile as well. Perfect. Let's try right now. Git add, git commit -m, remote thumbnails. Again, let's, did I do git push origin main? Now we're gonna have to wait a bit for the website to be built. Maybe while that is happening, that's out of the scope of this tutorial. But anyway, I really want to have something a little bit more visually pleasing on the home screen. So on the home screen, maybe let's create a let's create a new folder, components, and let's create a post list item.tsx. Let's generate a simple component for it, post list item, and say that it will receive a post information, and the post will be of a type post. Now it will start by simply rendering the, let's open up index from here, and we see the render item in the flat list is simply rendering a link. So let's copy this link from here, put it back maybe here inside the view, import link. Instead of item, use post that we will receive from properties, again post here, and on our index screen in the render item, let's simply render a post list item. I want to adjust a little bit the styles. The post list item will receive a property post with a value of the item that it's rendering. Now it works as it was working before, but in a second we're gonna add some styles here. Now the website should be finished there, should be redeployed. If I check it again, let's check if the images are still loading. Yes, they are still loading. And if we now are going to, if I inspect in the head, we should see a new meta OG image with a URL to our image itself. That will help us have this image when we share this URL on the web. Come on, I think that LinkedIn already cached this link. Come on. Anyway, there is the OG metadata preview. There are tools that can help us preview this, and by simply posting a URL here, it will show how this website is going to look on Facebook, on X, on LinkedIn, and so on. So that's cool because we see that now it picks up the image that is being displayed. Try on link viewer websites. Yes, that's exactly what we want to do here. And if you know, like knowing this, you can dive deeper into different OG metadata because you can adjust how you want this to look on different websites. For example, on Twitter, you can choose different style of cards, different styles of how you want it to be displayed. Anyway, that's powerful, and that's the system that we have here, built in React Native with Expo Router and deployed as a static website on the web. What else is important for search engines? It's important for the application to be performant. So let's go ahead and try to run a Lighthouse report on our website. I might open it in incognito so that my nothing interacts with it. So let's open inspect. Let's go to Lighthouse, and we're gonna even choose a mobile version. Let's go analyze page, and now it's going to analyze our homepage. It's perfect. That's expected because it's a statically generated website. It doesn't need a lot of power to render it. And if we go to a post details page, this might be a bit less, but anyway, it's going to be very, very performant. Yeah, performance 92, because the image probably is too large and it can be optimized. But anyway, this is very good for SEO, and you are going to rank on Google with your content that you can both have for marketing purposes, like to drive traffic, to rank on Google, and also to display it in your application, because it's a benefit of your application, of course, the content that you create. Nice to catch you live. Hello, Kadir. Anyway, the last step, probably let me know if you have, guys, any questions. I'm getting very close to the end of this build because the structure to this project is done. Like with this one, whenever you have to create a new post, what you're gonna do is you're gonna open Visual Studio Code, or maybe you are going to first, let's say here, 1 second. Maybe not even Visual Studio Code is going to be the first thing that you're gonna open. Maybe you're gonna open Notion or any other editor that allows you to edit Markdown content. And you're gonna write a new blog post. Here in Notion, you can write down Markdown. This is the title. Let's maybe take some more. So Markdown examples. Don't really like this one, but let's take it anyway. So if I just copy paste it in Notion, what? Usually it copy pasted correctly. But anyway, you're gonna have here something like this, then you're gonna have a second header, next one, Then you're gonna have lists with bullets, then another text. Then you're gonna have step 1, step 2, some bold text. What else you can do? You can have call out or quotes. And just like that, you can write out your blog. Notion is great, like I use it to write basically everything that I do at notjust.dev. And once you have a content here, you can go ahead and copy it. And we're gonna paste it in a new page in our project. We're gonna go into the source, in the content, and we're gonna duplicate the template. Let's call it post 3, or let's do, I don't know, yeah, post 3. Maybe a better slug would work, because the slug is visible in the URL, and the URL is also part of the SEO. So for the slug, I'm gonna do post 3. I'm gonna adjust the date to the current date. This is a new post. For the content, I'm gonna paste the things that I copied from Notion. So let's go back to Notion, copy everything, and paste it here. And as you can see, the content is copy-pasted as Markdown. Now for the description, this is the description. And for the thumbnail, I'm going to go ahead and put a new thumbnail there. Which one? I cannot find anything on my screen, but screenshot. I'm gonna do this one. So inside public, in the thumbnails, let's do post 3. And in the content, I'm gonna only say that the thumbnail is post3.png. That's it. Now I can check it locally by reloading the application. It's not yet here because we also have to add it to the list of all the posts. I'm gonna duplicate one that I see here. I'm gonna change it to post 3 to match the slug. I'm gonna import the post 3 page. And now I see it on my screen. I can open it. The thumbnail is not going to be yet visible because we haven't deployed our website yet. But everything else is similar to what we have here in Notion. We have a title, we have some text, we have a next one, we have bullet point lists, we have numbered list, we have codes, we have bold text, and a lot, like everything that is available in Markdown. Now, what you're gonna do is you're gonna do a git add, git commit, new post. And the last step is to do git push origin main. Then you're gonna go make yourself a coffee, and probably around in 1 minute, depending on how many pages you're gonna have. Sometimes it will increase maybe to 2 or 3 minutes, but it's acceptable. We're gonna have the website built automatically and deployed, and let's wait and see that happening. I guess WhatsApp also uses Markdown in mobile and web to mark text bold italic. Yes, a very, let's say, primitive version of Markdown. I don't think like WhatsApp supports the whole Markdown. And if you're not using Notion, I think there are online editors as well, like search Markdown. I haven't used any, but Markdown editor online. What do we see here? Markdown live preview. Yes, you can write it here and you can preview how it's going to look there. It also have tables. Content is ready. We are ready to go and check our live website. I'm gonna refresh the page. We see this is a new post. If I open it up, I see the title. This is a new post with all the information as we saw it on the mobile. And now after this happens, our mobile application will also have access to the thumbnail as well. So the next step is going to be to deliver the new update to also be available to make the new update also available in the mobile application to our users. Traditionally, in order to do that, you would have to rebuild the application and submit it to App Store and Play Store for changes. But if you are using, and I highly recommend you to use EAS Update, which is the service from EAS, from Expo, that allows you to send over the air updates. If you're using this with a simple CLI command, you can do EAS update branch and so on, press enter, and this change is going to be sent instantly to your users. And the next time they open the application and go to your blog page, they will see the new content there. And this allows you to send this data, send this information without having to rebuild the whole project. So for that, you'd have to set up EAS update, but it's not very complicated. Try to follow the documentation or check out some of the tutorials that we have on the channel. That's going to help you as well. And that's it. That's the whole system, everything that you have to do in order to create a new post. As you see, the goal here was on simplicity. We didn't introduce any kind of databases. We didn't introduce some kind of CMS or something like that. Everything is simple and done right away here. Of course, you can improve that. And the ways you could improve is later on, if you have like really a lot of data, maybe you're gonna want to introduce the database, so you don't store information locally, but you store it in the database. You're gonna definitely want to add some custom stylings to our Markdown content. And also check out Notion API, because what I'm doing with our blog, with notjust.dev blog, is I'm directly reading from Notion using their API. So whenever creating new posts, I never have to leave Notion. I write it there, and my application is reading that through Notion API and rendering the Markdown on the website. So it's either you're gonna use like remote database and store your Markdown content there, or you can use something like Notion API, or maybe some kind of headless CMS, content management system. MDX, I'm not sure if you're gonna need it, but might be something like if you need like some custom components, some custom functionalities inside your Markdown content. For that, you can research more about MDX. I have that on my blog, but again, this is overkill. For example, this button that you see here, it's rendered through Markdown. And in Markdown, I'm gonna show you how that looks. Just give me a second. So I have a Notion page with all the blogs that you saw there as a gallery as well. And if we, for example, check the F1 clone, this is a page with metadata at the top, like description, tags, type, and so on. And this is the content of the page. Then I simply read it from there. And the button that you saw is a simple text here, like button, href, and so on. So if I change something here, like button, download SN bundle, hello there, and go back and reload the page a couple of times, probably takes 10 seconds to rebuild. The button is going to be updated automatically on my website. And you can accomplish something like this with React Native as well by integrating with Notion API. But this is overkill. Like, again, think about simplicity. Think about what's the easiest way and do it only when needed, only when actually required. So, yeah. Let's see if we have any questions. Can you make a video on how to use Amplify Analytics? Okay, we can try to do something. I cannot promise. Now, a lot of my focus and energy is focused on the incubator. It's our 3 months program. We started a new batch previous week, and we have 5 founders that we will help build and launch their projects. And this tutorial is actually something that is going to help one of the founders, is going to help Kay implement a blog in her application and start getting traffic from search engines, from Google and so on. So yeah, that's why a lot of my energy and time is spent there. But we're gonna have a lot of content coming soon, guys. Don't worry. Brian is recommending a tutorial on React Native testing with Just. We have that as part of our academy, of part of our premium course, if you're interested. Hey, Heartful, Kay is actually here. What do you think about this, Kay? Did you manage to follow it from the beginning? And if you have any questions like to the project, ask me now and I'll be able to show it like here in the live chat. Otherwise, I'm gonna help you tomorrow during our meetings. But I'm not sure if you've been here from previously, but as a demo, what do we have right now is a React Native application that renders posts. The posts are created using Markdown content, and this React Native application is also hosted on the web. And it's a static website on the web, and it's going to work very fast and help you improve the search engine. Like, here are the posts on the web. With dynamic titles, description, tags, metadata, images, and so on. Okay, saying I was overcomplicating it. The solution, like having like a Next.js, like it's viable. Like I also have it like for our website. It's very good for blogs. But this solution is easy. This gets you up and running like in 2 hours, and we have a system. We have a system in place, and it's one code base. Everything is going to be React Native, and it's going to help us move faster. Hello, Gori. How are you doing? Airbnb clone with focus on the booking, apartment flow, Amplify as a backend. I will add it to our idea list, definitely. Anyway, guys, this was the tutorial. Make sure to join on Friday. We have another live stream. On Friday, we're gonna learn a lot about fetching data using React Stack query. And yeah, very excited about that one as well. Anyway, I'm gonna get back to work. I hope you enjoyed this one as well, and I will see you next time. If you enjoyed it, make sure to subscribe to the channel. It's actually free. You can do that right now, and it will help us a lot. Thank you very much. Have a nice day. Bye bye.